Welcome to our video on coordinated intake, assessment, and referral. Today we will be discussing match and prioritization, which really is the heart of coordinated assessment because the matching function is how we take all the information we collect about our clients and figure out how to best serve them within our continuum of care. This is also about coordinated assessment made simple. How do we make something as complex as match and prioritization and reduce the work and resources needed to coordinate this process? If we are now plagued by complexity, let's take the opportunity to make things simpler. The match function and prioritization is a complex process involving both client and project data, comparing client needs and qualifications with project and funding requirements. But it doesn't have to be complex for our users and clients. Complex processes can be replaced by more successful, simple ones. Complex documents can be replaced by easy-to-read communications. And what may be a complex process within the product can be moved upstream out of sight of the end user. Turning the key in a car's ignition is a simple task that masks a complicated set of underlying processes. And that is how all interactions should be for our users and our clients. But first we need to review some of the other components of coordinated intake, assessment, and referral, starting with coordinated intake. Coordinated intake starts with Homeless Management Information System, or HMIS. We are fortunate in Georgia to have one HMIS that is shared throughout the state. If the coordinated assessment is fully integrated with HMIS, and if a client has already been entered into the system, then most of our work is already done. The client is in the system, and we can simply select Search to find that client. When your coordinated assessment is fully integrated with your HMIS, many of the homeless clients you need to assess will already be in the system. So the simplest way to access the information and assess the client is to do a quick search of your database. The Quick Find button lets you enter any text to find clients. A more advanced search allows you to enter text in any of the attribute fields. You may find the client on the first attempt, or you may have to narrow your search by adding additional search fields. Let's look at the information about Zeke. You may find the client on the first attempt, or you may have to narrow your search by adding additional search fields. Let's look at the information about Zeke. We also are glad to see Zeke's HUD required information is already in the system and validated. This will save us valuable time and resources when making our assessment. Much of our pre-screening and full assessment questions will have already been answered with HUD's HMIS universal data elements. So our answers to assessment questions will be pre-populated. We shouldn't have to answer these questions twice. Fortunately for us, Zeke is already entered into the system by an outreach worker, and they were able to get all the important contact information needed to get back in touch with Zeke and to help us place Zeke in a project in close proximity. We also know how long Zeke has been waiting for service. We also are glad to see Zeke's HUD required information is already in the system and validated. This will save us valuable time and resources when making our assessment. Much of our pre-screening and full assessment questions will have already been answered with HUD's HMIS universal data elements, so our answer to assessment questions will be pre-populated. We shouldn't have to answer these questions twice. Since contact and HMIS info were already in the system, we only have to ask Zeke a few questions to see if he should be referred to services immediately or if we need to do a full assessment. We may also determine that Zeke could be diverted to other services that could help him outside of HMIS. This could free up valuable services for those who need our help. Triage will help determine if Zeke qualifies for special services like veteran or family services, or if Zeke is particularly vulnerable. He may need services immediately and could be referred for immediate placement. We have already determined that Zeke needs the full assessment. Each continuum of care gets to determine how clients are assessed. Leadership may choose an existing assessment tool or develop their own set of questions. And since Zeke is from Atlanta, we we'll use the VI SPDAT, a full assessment for individuals that was chosen by the Atlanta COC leadership team. We'll just take a few seconds to take you through the sections of the VI SPDAT. You may have heard that the VI SPDAT is very intense and takes a long time to survey. But recently some people have said you could do a SPDAT full survey in as few as 15 minutes. Some others, however, have said 15 days. It looks from this score that Zeke might qualify for permanent supportive housing. But this scoring system was used in California, and Atlanta may require a different scoring system. Match and prioritization is what coordinated assessment is all about. How can we automate processes to ensure each client is assessed fairly, and we make sure clients receive the services that best meet their needs? Match and prioritization is what coordinated assessment is all about. How can we automate the process to ensure each client is assessed fairly and we make sure clients receive the services that best meet their needs? Matching clients with projects may be done several times within the coordinated assessment process. Some communities may only automate the scoring to prioritize. Those who score highest are eligible for permanent supportive housing. Other communities may want to use a match function even without an assessment in order to triage clients for different types of services. And still other communities will want to combine client qualifications and scores to find the most appropriate services, housing and non-housing. Although the algorithms and calculations required to automate the match process may seem complex, the system might just require one simple click to determine the best projects to meet the client's needs. Although the algorithms and calculations required to automate the match process may seem complex, the system might just require one simple click to determine the best projects to meet the client's needs. Still, there will require knowledgeable staff to understand how the system works and make decisions for successful referrals. Coordinators must be knowledgeable about the projects and make sure that bed availability and reservations are kept up to date. Customizing and improving your coordinated assessment system will be an iterative process requiring design changes along the way. New technologies and implementation changes will require administrators to continually update the process. Administrators may require more information from both providers and the client. HUD will inevitably add new rules and regulations that will require system changes. Providers may want to increase or decrease requirements to better serve their client base. Administrators will need a simple way to modify match qualifiers. In this example, an emergency shelter for families neglected to put having a family was a requirement for enrollment. We will add that requirement. Let's run the match again with the new requirements. Now when we run the match, the family shelter is no longer available for Zeke. Now when we run the match, the family shelter is no longer available for Zeke. These match referrals are all available as reports for the service providers or for the coordinators to measure performance. Further customization is available to write additional requirements based on simple database queries. These match referrals are available as reports for the service providers or for the coordinators to measure performance. Further customization is available to write additional requirements based on simple database queries. This concludes our video on simple match and prioritization.